You will agree that whenever we try to implement anything new or we try to bring some changes at a large level, it is wise to first try it on a smaller scale and see the results. And in India, when we talk about the implementation of the three controversial farming laws, Bihar is a very good example to study. In Bihar, the mandi system, the APMC mandis, were abolished in 2006. It has been 14 years now since Bihar has been carrying on without the mandi system. So it should be a very good example to study that how did the farmers fare over there, and to see if the income of the farmers was truly doubled as is being promised by the government that it will when we introduce these three new laws about farming. You must all remember the very recent, sudden, shocking lockdown by the government at the time of Corona. And the hordes and hordes of migrant labor who trudged back to the villages by foot, by stealing a ride on tractors and on buses and trucks, and many of them lost their lives on the way. Surprisingly, the majority of them were from Bihar, which is a very telling story of how the farming law change in Bihar, of the change in system by doing away with the APMC mandis, helped them to grow any stronger? Or did it drive them away to be laborers in places like Punjab and other metropolitan cities? Even a farmer from Bihar who owned 4 acres of land has been working as a laborer in Punjab and Haryana. As of now, 97% of the farmers in Bihar remain marginal and too poor to support themselves. So where did that competition of private trade go in Bihar? How is it that the farmers over there have been selling their produce of maize, wheat and paddy at 50% of the minimum support price? Something obviously is not right. Now, ironically, the production in Bihar has shot up to 13%, which is above the national production, except Madhya Pradesh, which is doing well. What do you read into this irony? If 97% of the farmers are marginal, that means that this rise in production is limited to the 3% of the larger farmers. It also means that the traders who are the main buyers in Bihar now and the middlemen, they are buying their produce at only 50% of MSP. They have the wherewithal to store grain, to hoard grain, I would say, and to resell it at better prices later. Whereas the small marginal farmer has no such means to withhold his produce. Another interesting fact is that the Punjab government has been at its wit's end paying MSP to produce which has been coming in from other states, including Bihar. Now, if the traders could buy produce there at a good price and the farmer was also benefiting, this would not be so. But what is happening is that some of the traders are buying produce there at half the rate and bringing it to Haryana and Punjab to sell it at the MSP and get a huge profit and a bargain out of that. when we have these kinds of examples right in front of us, and we still insist that the ordinances which will give a free play to the farmer, this produce being sold to the trader, with no checks and balances by the government, the picture is very clear who we are trying to benefit, the farmer or the trader. The world over, it has been realized that farming does not conform to the regular demand and supply pattern of the market. This is another story altogether, and it would take too long to explain all the factors which go into it. But it should be enough to convince the layman that it is not only the socialist countries, but also the advanced capitalist countries which are subsidizing farming everywhere in the world. I would like to wind up with an interesting little anecdote. There was a famous Greek philosopher, Diogenes, who was known for his independent thinking and his creative thinking, so much so that Alexander the Great was also an admirer of this philosopher Diogenes. So, as the story goes, Alexander went to meet him with a horde of his soldiers following him. And as Diogenes sat studying, Alexander stood near him and said, "Diogenes, I would like to give you whatever you want. Ask, and it shall be yours." Diogenes looked up and said, "For now, would you please mind shifting a little to let the sunlight in?" Right now, the farmers who sit protesting at the Delhi border are requesting the Prime Minister, "Thank you. We do not want your largesse. All we ask is, please do not block the little bit of sunlight that we are entitled to." Thank you.